All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, the first time she came on Caravan to Midnight in 2014, we were doing just video shows. That day may come again, but not anytime soon, I'm thinking. She was Brendi Richards when she came on the program. She's Brendi Wells now. She is the Queen Bee, and it is an honor, number one, to be married to her and to be able to bring her on the program and talk about these things that she knows all about, having lived through them. Let me just say, for people new to the program, she is a dedicated advocate and activist for truth and justice. Born and raised in South Africa, she's been at the forefront of raising global awareness about the ongoing issues in her homeland. For years, since 2014, she's tirelessly exposed the atrocities and the heartbreaking realities faced by her people following the 1994 communist takeover, which was misleadingly presented as a transition to democracy. Brendi's commitment to her cause has brought her to the United States. Currently resides with me, John B. Wells, by the way, host of the program. Our meeting on Caravan to Midnight in August 2014 marked the beginning of a powerful partnership, and together we have done everything we can to elevate the awareness of South Africa's plight to the highest levels of governments around the world. Having lived through the tumultuous period of South Africa's history, Brendi possesses a unique perspective on the parallels she sees unfolding in the United States today. Her ability to connect the dots between past and present threats to democracy and, moreover, a constitutional republic makes her insights invaluable in our current climate. In addition to her activism, she's known for engaging and impactful public speaking. She shares her firsthand experiences and deep understanding of political and social dynamics, and her work continues to inspire and mobilize individuals and organizations dedicated to fighting for freedom and human rights. And she is a generous person, because not only is she a culinary authority, I'm thinking, and feeds me very well. She also published a book, and you can feed yourselves very well too. And I'm just going to tell them real quick. It is Survival Food, South African Pioneer History and Cuisine. If things get rough, or even if they don't, you will eat like kings and queens and princes and princesses. If you get this book, she'll tell you how to do it. Without further ado, here she is. Brendi, Mrs. John B. Wells. Brendi, welcome. It's good to have you on the airwaves with me. It really is.
Thank you, John, and what an honor it is to spend time with your audience tonight.
Well, let her rip, kiddo.
Well, where would you like me to start?
Well, how about the parallels between what happened in South Africa and I mean, the propaganda campaign and everything that seems to be being duplicated here and has been for some years now? How about there?
Most certainly, because right now, and I mean, I say this all the time to anybody who really cares to listen, is that it literally feels like I'm in a twilight zone, because I switch on the television now and it feels like I'm back in South Africa, and literally seeing how these girls are being raped. That is, I cannot even begin to explain what goes through my system when I see that. And this is exactly the same tactics that they used in South Africa. The propaganda that started, specifically, if you speak to any American who's not awake, who doesn't follow your show or, the truth movement and actually understand what they're looking at, they really think that the white people in South Africa are these horrible racists and that we have just obliterated and killed all these millions of black people. And that is such a lie. Mandela was not a hero. He was a communist. He worked with F.W. de Klerk and Netanyahu to dismantle our government from within. And that is exactly what they're doing in America. But what most people don't know is that George Soros and the Open Society started their nonsense in South Africa, specifically taking over schools, media, complete propaganda, and they were working in conjunction back in the 80s with Joe Biden. Joe Biden visited South Africa. He visited Nelson Mandela in his, I want to say, prison. People think he was on Robben Island chopping rocks all the time, but he wasn't. He was living in a house on the Pollsmoor prison grounds. He was living in the house that was built for the prison guard manager. He had that house. He had a chef. He had a telephone. He traveled. He visited America. He actually attended a town hall in the 80s while in prison in America. People don't know that, but if you can find it if you know where to look. And I've published so much of this stuff on jellyfish.news, and make use of that Jellyfish News search bar. You can type in any topic there, and you'll find my articles. Just type my name, and all my articles come up. But having said that, they are so good at propaganda. They actually tested the market, for lack of a better term. In certain parts of America, they said that Nelson Mandela died to see if they could get enough groundswell going to rise up and actually force our government out quicker. That didn't work. So a lot of people has put this Nelson Mandela effect together and think that Nelson Mandela died. No, they were just playing propaganda in certain areas in the world, and that is why so many people are confused. They use propaganda, they tweak it, and they do it for the purpose of brainwashing and getting some kind of reaction. Having said that, when South Africa fell in 1994, but it actually fell about 1990 when Nelson Mandela was released out of prison and the whole Codesa movement happened, and then you had the Truth and Reconciliation circus, for lack of a better term. And all of those things were put in place for a complete and total communist takeover. What they then did, and this is where I'm coming now, because, for the last 7 years, I've literally told you, next time they're going to start taking down statues. They're going to start changing names. They're going to do this, that. Not because I'm clairvoyant, but because I understand. I've seen it before. I've seen this movie before. But at the end, oh gosh, I lost my train of thought. But anyways, what I was trying to say, by the time they had installed this communist government in South Africa, there was nobody on the planet that thought it was a bad thing. They all lauded Nelson Mandela as this hero. And I do think that Joe Biden at some point, and I think he's delusional, he does think that he is saving America. But we also know who is behind this. And I never understood why they put so many incompetent people in government. And then you see the incompetence trickle down, and they use black economic empowerment. They use what they call equity and inclusion, and then this whole gay agenda started popping up. And you can trace all those things back to even the Weimar Republic, because a lot of people say that Hitler was evil, and who knows, maybe he was. I didn't know him, but I do know that the German country was taken over by the Zionists, and Hitler did work with them, because if you watched Game of Thrones, the Iron Bank, that's who they are. They're based in the city of London. They have the money, and they helped Hitler build his country. And ultimately, when he understood what he was dealing with, he turned against them, and they destroyed him. And the propaganda that came out of the First World War has been phenomenal, and they've implemented that same model over and over and over. First was the Bolshevik Revolution, then you had all these various countries going communist, including South Africa, Brazil, Venezuela. Pick something. And it's the same recipe, it's the same tactic, and I don't think people understand that we have been living under a one-world government since the First World War. And even Scripture teaches us that the spirit of the Antichrist, 666, how many points does that star have? And the spirit of the Antichrist hates women. So who do they go after first? That you see women getting raped. You see women getting maimed. I have my own story of a severe attack that I survived in South Africa. You know that, and maybe one day I'll have the courage to share that on air. However, I literally had to flee from my life, and that's what's happening in America today. The people are the victims, and your government is the enemy.
I'm just letting that sink in. You know, I keep referring to, I use Mike King's expression, the usual suspects, and I'm looking at a picture of a Russian vehicle, and it's painted with the new military insignia on the invading force. It is the same symbol used in past wars against Khazaria. It's a diamond, ladies and gentlemen. Just take a diamond like you see on a deck of cards. Just pull a card out there. There's a diamond. Put an X across it with the cross point right there in the middle of the diamond, and one bar of the X goes behind the diamond, and one bar goes in front of the diamond. So apparently, there's something to this Khazarian thing. We've played stuff on the. Well, let's just put it this way. Tell us about the infiltration of the Khazarian mafia masquerading as Jews.
Well, you have to trace this thing back all the way to biblical times, and there is a covenant that the Israelite people have with God, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. And God made a covenant with Israel as his people. Israel has been really, really bad because they continue to go after Baal and all kinds of weird gods and sexual perversion. And as a result, every time God punishes them. First time they went into captivity to Babylon, they came back, and right now Israel is in captivity. We've been in captivity for 2,000 years, and because Israel rejected Jesus, his grace is on the Gentiles right now, and they have an opportunity to come into that covenant with God and with Israel. If you confess Jesus with your mouth and you believe in your heart that he is king, then you will be saved and you get grafted in to the vine as his people. So all Christians are his people, and who has the target on their back? The Christians. And the point is, his grace is on the Gentiles, but in the last days, his grace will return to Israel, and that is why Israel is starting to wake up and understanding who they are, because our enemy is a liar. He's also an imitator, and he is a usurper. He steals, he lies, he rapes, and he imitates. So he even imitates God's people. That is what the spirit of the Antichrist is doing. He's imitating God's people. He's masquerading as Jews. Now, saying Jews, we all understand the word Jew only came into the Bible in the 1875, but what I'm referring to is the Judahites, because they have taken the identity of the Judahites. And the Judahites is one of the tribes of the 12 tribes of Israel. And they are masquerading as this tribe, but they are not. It says in Revelations 2:9 and 3:9 that they call themselves Jews, but they are not. They are the synagogue of Satan. And how can you prove that? Because they read the Talmud. The Talmud is a Babylonian magic. If you read that book, you understand how much they hate Israel. They call us Goyim. And to kill any one of us is like killing an animal. They also think they can rape our children. They still use magic. They still use child sacrifice through Moloch. And go look at that star on the front of the head of Moloch, and you look at the star of that illegal state. They don't even call it a country. They call it a state. Why? Because they've taken over America. They've taken over the Federal Reserve. The moment they took over the Federal Reserve, they took over America, and they are controlling this country. If you control the money, you control the people. And Israel, the state of Israel, which is registered in the city of London, which is spiritual Babylon. I'm not talking London, the big city. I'm talking that small square of feet that is
1
controlled.
square mile. Yep.
Yeah, 1 square mile, sorry, that is controlled by the Zionists, the Rothschilds, Red Shield. This goes back all the way to Esau. So you can understand that this is the spiritual war between good and evil, his seed and her seed. Father even said in the Bible, when Eve got deceived and this whole world came into a curse, even the rocks cry out for the sons of God to be revealed. And it's time for us to wake up and understand that we are in a war and our enemy is our own government. It took us in South Africa 10, 15 years to understand this, because you are programmed to be a law-abiding citizen. You are programmed, or not programmed, you were raised by good people. You don't go out and steal and lie and plunder and kill children and rape women. Nobody does that unless you're not, inherently evil. But the point is, when these home invasions start, and I'm telling you it's going to start because all the earmarks are there. They're invading the borders in the exact same way they did in South Africa. Take note that in 1948, when our government in South Africa, the National Party, came into existence, there was about 6 million black people and about 5 million white people. So even the term apartheid, they've completely weaponized and messed that up. It just means separate development, because you were looking at 9 to 11 tribes that were warring tribes. They were killing each other. The Zulus and the Xhosas and the Vendas and the Sothos, they all hated each other, and there was always a war, there was always bloodshed. And South Africa, the white people said, well, hang on, let's give everybody a piece of land. Let's show them how to run a government. Let's build them schools. Let's build them hospitals. Let's do this for them. And we did it. We funded it. And there's even videos on YouTube where Dr. Verwoerd, who's known as the father of apartheid, was talking to these presidents of these homelands and how they loved him and appreciated them, because now their children were schooled in their own language and they were able to rule themselves. The Zionists came in, started living between the Afrikaners, took our identity. Does that sound familiar? Pretended to be. They got themselves classified as Afrikaners and turned on us in the very last moment. And this is exactly what has happened in America. The Zionists have taken over the government. And you even read a story about who is controlling this government. And the moment you step into American government, into any seat, you get a visit from who?
Yeah.
Well, and they tell you, you will toe the line or else. They either will spend enough money with your opponent to get you out, or they'll kill a family member, they'll threaten you, or they get some dirt on you and they'll blackmail you. And that is who is running this country right now. There is a planned agenda that has been put down on paper by, and I mean, just go and watch the Borgias, and you will see how the Borgia Pope, who was a Khazarian, who was an evil person, took over the Catholic Church, and through the Catholic Church took over the world. We've been living under a one-world government since the First World War, and people don't even know that. And it's time for us to wake up and understand that we are in a battle for our lives. And I believe that if you go read Ezekiel 31, the cities without walls, these people are coming into the border. They are being hooked. They're coming in from Ethiopia, Kush. I mean, pick a country, and they're coming over the border by their millions. And I'm saying one thing. If we don't wake up and understand who we are and start praying like there's no tomorrow, this country is toast. There won't be one. I went back to South Africa in 2019, and I did not see or recognize the country that I grew up in. It's filthy. There's disgusting rubbish lying all over. You cannot go into a city. It looks like I can't even explain what it looks like. If you just go and look at videos on YouTube, it's disgusting.
I was on the phone with you. When a guy with an AK came into a convenience store you were in and let off some rounds, and you were over by the dairy case behind some counters there next to it. I don't think I ever told anybody that
Exactly.
story. Yeah, I was on the
happens.
phone with
Why?
her.
I just literally crawled under the bread counter and lay there and said to John, just don't go away, just hang on, it'll be over soon. And they robbed the place and ran out, and I took my little bag and I went home. I literally had to switch on the radio every single morning to listen. Where are they burning tires? Is there a shooting? Where are they chasing? I mean, it was insane. You cannot live in a country like that. But the first thing they do is they absolutely get all the white people, or not necessarily white, but any skilled person out of any position. How do you experience customer service today? Pick something. Go to a bank. Go to the post office. Go to a restaurant. You are having to deal with incompetence on a daily basis because they are dumbing the place down to the point where it will crumble. And that is what happened in South Africa. 30 years into communism, and there's nothing left of that country. They've plundered the entire purse, the South African Reserve Bank. They've stolen all that gold, and they funneled it through Israel, and they bailed out American banks with our money, our gold in the 80s. But it's one world government for them, so they don't care that it's our country, your country. We still have that identity, but to them it is one world government, kill the Goyim, and install their fake system based on lies.
It's unbelievable. We need a lot more time together. I think we should plan to do this. You have no idea what Brendi does for a caravan. You really don't. And still takes time to speak with people who have an issue, some sort of a problem or something. She'll love them through it. And a while ago you said you were thinking 18th century, and you mentioned the J word being introduced into the lexicon in the 1800s, 1775. Okay, Brendi, love you, sweetheart. I got to bail. I got 4 seconds.
Thank you so much. God bless everyone.
All right, everybody, hang on.